Hey, listener. This is Shane from the RecLess podcast, and I'm excited to announce that this season of RecLess is brought to you by Civic Plus. For all of our park and rec pros out there, do you constantly feel like you're putting out fires? Dealing with registrations, facility bookings, team calendars? It's a non-stop juggling act. And all the admin work as well. It's keeping you from doing what really matters, serving your community. That's where Civic Plus comes in. Their comprehensive parks and recreation management solution streamlines everything from online registration to facility scheduling and payments. It's all in one place. Parks and Rec Management by Civic Plus automates the busy work that bogs you down so you can spend less time on paperwork and more time creating unforgettable programs for your residents and communities. Civic Plus is a trusted partner for thousands of high-performing civic leaders, helping them balance better services with limited resources. With over 25 years' experience and a team of 900 experts, Civic Plus powers over 10,000 organizations and touches 340 million lives every day. If you're ready to trade out burnout for impact, visit civicplus.com. The best-run local governments run on Civic Plus technology. All right, now on with the show.
Welcome to Season 5 of RecLess, the podcast making you smarter and more knowledgeable about the field of parks and recreation. Your hosts are Shane Mize, Jay Tryon, and Tom Venniro, three career-long friends from across the country bringing you a surprise guest each episode. Listen in on a great conversation, maybe take some notes, and definitely enjoy a couple of laughs. This is RecLess.
Santa Claus.
Coming to town.
Look at that.
Doesn't get any bigger at this time of year.
Oh, Santa Claus.
All right, I'm going to make you the host. Just let the bird back in.
Yeah. Oh, there he is.
What's up? What's up?
Crisis avoided at the lake?
We'll see. We don't know yet.
You know, they want shit done. They send Jay out. Jay takes care of it.
Well,
Like Jay's getting a quick bite in.
He's multitasking.
okay. You guys hear me?
You can you hear us?
Oh, you guys sound like very interesting.
Well, I hope he tries to mimic you again at some point.
Hannah laughed so hard when she was listening to that.
Okay. Yeah. You guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Are we
yeah.
any better?
Oh, yeah. That's a lot better.
It's funny because Hannah puts her headphones on. She starts to do the editing, and I'll be watching TV or watching the game or something, and you'll hear her just start cackling with laughter, you know? And I was like, what's going on? She's like, oh, when Jay started to do the Shane voice. I was like, yeah.
It's gonna be a good moment in time.
Might have to come out again sometime.
Yeah, hopefully we got video of that so we could put that on some social.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe in person in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Welcome to RecLess, everyone. You are listening in on episode 17 of season 5, which is our 95th. I always like to count up to 100. It's been the last 3 episodes we've been doing that, and yeah, we're 5 away. Pretty exciting.
Crazy.
As always, as we bring you into the world of parks and recreation, I am joined by my 2 best professional friends.
Look at it. Look at it. He had
I
a
guess
chance
it's-
to
we got up a tier from
Now,
last time.
yes, now you got
he had a chance
best.
to redeem
You
himself.
got best.
No.
Shane Mize and Jay Tryon. How you guys doing today?
Good.
I can't
Nice to
complain.
know where we stand,
I'm
Jay.
glad we're best friends today. Maybe not next time. We'll see.
Well, after Sunday, I don't know how we're going to be talking, Jay. It's going to be a big one.
Are y'all playing? Not fantasy, real life.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're not playing, but
I mean,
the Bills and the Patriots are.
Yes, we're not playing, but the team
Big game. Basically means the AFC East at this point. Not that
Not
the Patriots,
necessarily.
the
but
Patriot can still win, but if
Yeah.
they win this Sunday, then they're pretty much locked.
Oh, it's 100% locked if they win. Yeah. Then if they don't, they still just need to win.
Still have a chance. Yeah, win out.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Do you want to address the fantasy elephant in the room?
I've got
let's just
3
get it out.
opening conversations today. 2 are really quick, and one is our normal or typical question. So yes, the first one is the whatever we call it, YPN Fantasy Football League for the second year straight, or maybe second and the last 3 years,
Second year row, yeah,
Shane and Jay played in the final week of the regular season
for a playoff spot.
for a playoff spot. And one of those individuals was knocked out last year. And for a second straight year, that same individual, Jay Tryon, was knocked out by the self-proclaimed "I hate fantasy football" Shane Mize. How
Been
do
a
we
good
feel
week.
about that?
Been a good week, boys.
I mean,
Jay's gonna change all the rules.
I honestly, after seeing what happened with what's his name, Kyle Pitts last night,
Oh my
who I
gosh.
would have been playing if I would have won that game, it wouldn't
Yeah.
have mattered because I would have lost in the first round. So it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What
Good
happened with
point.
Kyle Pitts?
Three
He
touchdowns,
dropped like 50 points.
Oh, wow.
160, 3 touchdowns, 50, probably the highest tight end performance in years.
Yeah.
And
It
so
actually may go down as the highest tight end performance ever.
ever. Yeah, it was wild.
And that would have been who I was playing against, and I probably would have got smoked this week, so it wouldn't have mattered.
Hmm.
We've been waiting for Kyle Pitts to break out for about 4 years.
I think everyone has.
Yes.
I've drafted
So
him a couple of times, thinking he would
yeah.
that year. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a very humble guy. You guys know I don't like to brag, but I haven't had a
Oh
meaningful
boy.
game in that league since maybe week
Oh boy.
eight,
This guy.
9, after starting
This
off
guy.
10-1. So I got the bye. I didn't have to worry about any of these elimination games thanks to Jonathan Taylor and company.
Yeah. These little
So
guys just playing their heart out for you.
they are. I want to thank them all. Jared Goff, rotating defense and kicker. I know that's a soft, I think that's a pretty sensitive spot or territory to go in today, but let's move on. The whole world doesn't need to know about our fantasy football world, but it
Right.
is fun to bring it up. My second very short topic for you both today is Shane has his holiday reminder shirt.
Mm.
Oh, Pfudge. Oh, Fudge. PF, of course.
Hmm.
Great shirt. And with us today as our guest is
Santa
the
Claus.
one and only Santa Claus. So my question that has nothing to do with our opening topic, we'll make it quick. Have either of you, I think this has come up once or twice on this podcast, but since we have Santa Claus, we want to pay his respect. Have either of you played Santa Claus at any one point in time? I have done it twice. Once back when I was about 16 years old, I was, for some reason, placed at the summer camp site with the oldest kids, and my brother was at the site with the youngest kids. Made no sense. He's 3 years older than me. I probably should have been with the younger kids, but I was with a bunch of 12, 13, 14-year-olds as a 16-year-old. So his site basically contracted me out to be their Santa Claus for the little kids. I don't know how
Nice.
believable it was back in the day. And then once again in 2020, when we had all of the COVID madness and we couldn't celebrate typically at an event like we would, we did those virtual visits with Santa, and I played Santa for 2 consecutive Saturdays, nonstop. I think 25-minute appointments for both those Saturdays, and that was a really enjoyable time. How about you guys?
I have not, so my answer is going to be short and sweet. I never have had to, and
I don't feel surprised by the answer.
yeah.
I-
So I don't have a story to share.
Even though I bear an incredible resemblance to the jolly old Saint Nick, I've never done it. I did, and I think I've told this on the podcast one time. I did get into an argument with now my oldest child. She's almost 25, but I was telling her that if she wasn't good, she was going to have to talk to Santa. And she kind of called me out on it as if I didn't have Santa's number. So I called a buddy of mine, Rusty, who went to the campus rec side when we went to the municipal side, but he's been on a couple of our calls. He's listened to some stuff, and I just called him, and of course he didn't know what he was getting into, and he answered, but he was like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And I was like, Santa, it's Shane, good to talk to you. And he was like, "What is happening?" On the other end of the line. And I was like, "Yeah, Gracie's right here. She's being a terrible girl. I'm gonna let you talk to her." He's like, "Please don't do that, please." And the last thing I heard as I took the phone away from my ear is ho ho ho. So I've never had to do it, but I put someone else on the spot, and they stepped up to the plate and were Santa for me. And so to all the Santas out there, thank you.
The power of Santa is real.
That's right.
And this was last year, right?
Yeah, she was acting up when she was 23.
All right, guys, let's get into our actual question of the day. Well, it's December 12th today, and in less than 2 months, we will be together in Wisconsin.
It's gonna be cold.
Yeah, it's going to be cold. Wisconsin, the land of cheese, cold weather, the nicest people in the world, probably. And of course, the Lambeau Leap. Or that being said, aside from each of our presents,
Yeah.
what are you both looking forward to most when we visit Wisconsin? Oh, also, shout out John Prue, the Lambeau Leap. I hope he's listening
Oh,
to this one.
yeah.
He is a diehard Packers fan for sure. I'll go since I'm already talking about John here, and I hope to see John if he's going to be up that way. I'm not sure if he'll be there, but I have not been to the Wisconsin conference. I've been to several other state conferences. I love going to different state conferences. It's kind of been my newest goal is to hit as many as I can. I've done obviously all the surrounding ones near my state. I've done South Carolina and Virginia that, easy to drive to. So getting somewhere new like Wisconsin's going to be exciting. We have a handful of folks that we know personally and are friends with that live in Wisconsin, but I just want to get connected with more people, new people that I've never met before. When you go to a state conference that's not your own, you typically get to see some different speakers that you've never seen before, maybe cover some different topics. And, Wisconsin's unique in that they have some different setups for agencies that are non-traditional. They run a lot of programs or they have a lot of departments that are intertwined with school districts, which
Mm.
is not common here in North Carolina. So I like seeing things like that and seeing outside of the box concepts that are successful for them. That is something that I've talked to a few people there in the past that like work in that school district setting, and it's unique. So I want to hear more about that and how others are set up in that state that are just unique to me. So trying to steal some ideas of what I can get from that and intertwine things here in Concord. And I think the other side of it is just, there's obviously when you go to a state conference, trying to get some takeaways that you can bring back to your department and also help others that are looking for some takeaways that you can give them. So, any way I can, and hopefully setting up some time to meet some new folks and share some new ideas with them as well.
Well, it's definitely not looking forward to the travel
But we get to
or
travel together.
that's right. That might be fun. Or meeting a bunch of new people. But it'll be good to see the folks that, Derek and Adrian Lacey, who I don't get to see much anymore. I used to work with Adrian in Fort Worth, Trista and Chad, and some of these folks that are excited about having us come out. I think I don't love to travel necessarily unless it's by car, but once, and we're gonna get some of that car travel too because it's it's a distance from the hotel to the airport. It sounds like, but I do enjoy visiting cities, like seeing how cities are laid out and eating in those cities, and I think that'll be fun. And then I think Jay's right. I don't know if I realized it at first because I would just go to my state and I'd go to national, and my state and the national conference. But as we've been asked to speak at some state conferences, there's an energy and a uniqueness that is totally that state. Whether it's, I've had the opportunity to do Minnesota and Oklahoma, and we did mass together, and I'm looking forward to what Wisconsin's like. But every one of those is very unique, different, and just very uniquely that agency, that membership. And you see what that group cares about pretty quickly, the socials and the community and the events they have and that they've scheduled. Mass was that group was partying. It was so cool for us to be on the outside and see they partied for hours in that huge room. And they just cared about each other and they really enjoyed being around each other. And so it'll be interesting to see what I get to learn about Wisconsin's culture, that community, that state association's culture.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. Other than Shane's opening comments, I am looking forward to all of the same things you are. The people that we know in Wisconsin are awesome people. So if that's any indication of what the rest of that membership is going to be like and the hospitality that I'm sure that will be shown, I'm very excited for that. And I agree, the energy that you find at a state conference as an attendee for your own state, there's a lot of pride and you get to feel that you get to experience it with the people that you see on a yearly basis or those that are in your department. But when you go there from the perspective of someone else outside of the state or whatever capacity that it may be, seeing it from the outside is it's extremely contagious, and you get to be a part of that. There's a certain excitement level for you being whatever it is that you might be doing. If you're a presenter, an exhibitor, you just get to see it all and be a part of it and experience it. So I'm excited. And then I guess what I would add, because you all covered it so well, is we talk about always visiting other cities. And when I'm with the two of you, it is always fun to explore and find some places to eat, experience some new food, parks, whatever it may be. We will do a better job of planning that this time around. I
No,
know
we
that
won't.
Boston was a little bit of a failure, but I think we've got help this time around. These individuals who
Mm.
are so nicely bringing us have already said, "Hey, these are some spots, or this is what you gotta try." So I'm excited to try new things. I've never been to Wisconsin before, and yeah, I echo everything you said. So that is in a couple months.
It's
By
gonna
the
be so cold.
it,
Oh
it
my
might be
gosh.
it might be cold,
Not
but
might be. February in
it's
Wisconsin is gonna be freaking Arctic.
it's not much out of the ordinary of what I'm used to, but for you,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be a little shock for you.
I'm gonna take every jacket I have. I'm not gonna have
And
underwear or socks, but I'm gonna take every jacket I own.
all right, on that note, let's get to our guest.
Mm.
So, our guest, Santa Claus, as the name may give you a little clue, or maybe this plays into it, but it absolutely does. They just played Santa Claus yesterday
Oh.
at their wives' senior community living. So they did the whole thing, first time ever doing it, sent me a picture, and pretty fantastic. It was a whole family affair, but yeah, that's why we got Santa Claus today, just off their first ever gig. And before we got on the call today, we talked about it as being a potential retirement job. And Shane, I could see that for you too, the Texas
So I
Santa.
used to think I'd have to be Santa, but now that Jason Kelsey's popular, I think I just have to be Taylor Swift's brother-in-law. I think
Yeah,
it's more of a year-round gig. I
it's
think if I can
attainable.
just, I can act like Jason Kelsey instead
Yeah,
of acting like Santa.
yeah. It's probably something you can reach.
I think so.
So good luck.
The same body frame, mostly.
Our guest has also been in the Parks and Rec field for over 10 years, serving two communities. Our guest has recorded a hole in one. This is the second guest that has recorded a hole in one
What are these people
in
doing?
the last maybe six or seven guests. I don't know how that's possible, but
You
yes.
would you would drop a 6-7 on here.
The
Now I'm lost. Where do we have a 6-7?
You just said it.
last 6 or 7 guests.
That was totally unintentional, all right? But 6-7, that's how it's real. That's how you say it. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
If anybody wants to know. I got little kids. Our guest has completed their master's internship at a gold medal agency. They earned their bachelor's and master's degrees from the University of Wisconsin Whitewater, home of the War Hawks.
Eagles?
The
Warhawks.
Warhawks. Close.
D3 school, I think.
Close. I can neither confirm nor deny that. You're going to have to ask the guest on that one. Our guest serves on the Wisconsin Conference Planning Committee. So we get
All
to ask
right.
this guest a little bit about that experience and why they would even consider bringing us.
Yeah.
And then the last clue that I'm going to be sharing today. Our guest has two children. One of them, oldest, son Wes, goes to school and sits in the same seating pod as RecLess's number one young fan, hashtag
Oh,
earmuffs Rooney.
okay.
Joining
Let's
us all the
go.
way from
Chad.
Jefferson City. Man, you got it. You got it. Running for the nicest human in Wisconsin, which is probably hard to get. Welcome, Chad Holpfer, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Forestry, City of Jefferson, Wisconsin. Chad, welcome.
Ho, 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 everyone. Look at
Welcome.
that. Perfect
Santa's
timing.
here in the building.
Yep.
Nice.
Chad, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. It is cold. I think we're forecast to have 21 below zero wind chills here on Sunday. So I just have a vest on. I don't have to pull every jacket, but yeah, try to stay warm.
What does that sound like below 21 to you, Shane? What does that, can you even comprehend that?
Sounds like indoors is what it sounds like to me.
You know,
Yeah.
the wind chill doesn't scare very many people off around here because they're just used to it. But if it makes you feel any better, next week we're supposed to get into the 40s, and that around here is called a heat wave.
Balmy. Yeah.
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 40s sounds good
But
right now.
what's the temperature average in February? Because that's the coldest time of the year in Texas. I'd imagine that's the coldest time of year in Wisconsin too.
It can be, but the last couple of winters, January, February, have actually been some of the warmest on record.
Well, at a
Uh,
sliding scale, what is that still? Is that 13 degrees?
no, there's a couple days in January and February where we'll pop for a 50-degree day.
Wow.
Okay,
So you're
let's
saying there's a
go.
chance.
Let's go.
I'm saying there's a chance.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you being with us. We're excited to go to Wisconsin, so let's kick it off there. You're deep in the trenches of planning this conference right now, the 2026 conference, which is in the beginning of February, and you all do a fantastic job of pre-planning. You've reached out to us a while ago, so you're probably feeling pretty comfortable going in. And your theme this year is connection is key. Love the theme. We've gotten a chance to see some of the marketing templates and everything that you put along with that theme, and you are going to be hosting this conference at what is considered the water park capital of the world, ironically, after having
Melissa.
after having Melissa on in the Wisconsin Dells. And Jay and Shane, are you bringing your bathing suits?
I told you my Dell story, right?
100% I am.
Did I tell y'all that?
No, please give us this Dell story real quick.
First year in grad school, everyone's talking about going to South Padre and all these places in Texas. It's spring break. Hannah and I are like, we've heard of this place called the Dells. Why don't we just go to the Dells for spring break? I call up and I get a room rate and it's incredibly cheap. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're getting this cheap rate. This is going to be incredible. Everyone's driving south. We're driving north. It gets colder and colder and colder. And I realized the Dells aren't even open. Like it's a very seasonal town. So like there's a lot of shops that aren't open. There's a lot of convenience stores or, touristy spots that won't open yet. And I didn't realize that. They were all making fun of me. Everyone at Western Illinois was like, why are you going north? And we got to our hotel and it luckily had an indoor pool, but everything outside was freezing. So basically there was nothing to really, we couldn't visit a lot of places. Everything was a water park, but if you don't pay to be in that agency or that hotel room, you can't really go to that water park. So we got to go to our one little water park all week, and we ate Culver's. We got to learn the greatness of Culver's. Yeah, so everyone else went where it was warmer, and for some reason we went where it was colder.
Well, that's a pretty good story, and I'm glad that you get a second chance
In a colder time than that.
in an even
You
colder
still didn't
time.
answer your question though.
Jay, yeah,
I've been to the
bathing
Dells.
suit question. Are you
No,
bringing
that wasn't
a
the
bathing
question.
suit? Are you bringing a bathing suit? Because I could see Jay's a lazy river guy and a water slide guy. No
I like
doubt.
water slides, 100%.
Okay.
Any pair of shorts is a bathing suit for me. So yeah, I'll have something.
Well, I
Okay.
guess there might be some restrictions, but anyway,
There's
let's get
probably
back
some
to it.
like slides that take 2 or 3 people at a time. So maybe a group ride
Oh,
is in
that could be. We could maybe
okay.
get a little, maybe a GoPro on there or
Okay.
a selfie stick. That'd be fun. All right.
Do
All
it.
right. So outside of the amazing planning that you've all put into this, the top-notch facility and location, you also have, and the great theme, you also have a lineup that is very impressive. It is a miniature NRPA
Yeah.
in Wisconsin, heavy hitters, Murderers Row, including former guests, 3 of them, Nile Bott, Annie Frizzoli, and Chase Ellis.
Bobby Nance too.
All of these individuals, and then of course the B team, RecLess.
Yeah, for sure.
So we appreciate you getting us into the second tier there, but that's a really impressive conference right off the top of the bat, just with the individuals you're bringing. So I want to know all about the process. What is your role with the conference this year? What are you personally most excited about, and what can attendees, including ourselves, look forward to?
Yeah. So I am the one of 2 members on the committee in charge with coming up with executive track speakers. So obviously we have parks, we have aquatics, we have rec, and then we have our emerging professionals and our DEI track as well. And so, we have, I think, 40 plus sessions, and I get to hone in on the executive track, which is kind of is usually reflective of, I think, the committee's work over the course of the year, and also the work of our chair, who is Trista Taylor this year, in charge of setting up all these wonderful speakers, working on getting the keynotes, which our committee member Emma was in charge of. And really what we wanted to do is focus on the connection is key. We've been talking a lot about that over the last year, and I think you guys touch on this several times throughout the seasons. It's just how important connection is in this industry. And before Trista actually became the chair, she was sent to NRPA at the request of our association. It was for exactly the reasons why we're all connected today, is to meet people in other states, get connected with what's going on across the country, and then finding ways how to take ideas back from those conferences and bring it to Wisconsin. And so our membership and our association is really geared towards trying to diversify the information and what's trending out in the industry and the profession as a whole. Now, of course, we have our statewide speakers, we have our local speakers, and they are fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think you'll be very surprised by a lot of our local presenters. But at the same time, we're also bringing to our association a very, an NRPA light, if you will, where we have a lot of these really high-end speakers and professional speakers, because we believe that information is valuable to our members, it's valuable to our association, and which really positions all of us in each of our communities to do the best work that we can on a day-to-day basis.
So what's we talked a little bit yesterday before the guys jump in. Can you tell us about, I'm going to go specific here, not to leave it open-ended, but we talked about a concept that you're bringing that I believe you're spearheading, speed networking.
Yeah, so one of the things that we keep getting back in our conference surveys is our emerging professionals, our young professionals are looking for more ways to connect with professionals in the field. And so we wanted to be more intentional with that this coming year. And so, we have about a 4 or 5 hour time block set aside for our trade show, which is usually on Wednesday. So we thought, let's try to fill a little bit of that time at the very end for some of our emerging professionals, people who have maybe a year or 3 years or less time in the field, to meet some other people that are like them, that may have some common themes or some common stuff going on in their day-to-day work life. And so we're going to gather together in a room, and we're going to have young and emerging professionals mixed with mid-careerist and seasoned professionals in kind of like a speed dating thing. Of course, you get 10 to 15 minutes to sit and talk about a specific topic that we'll suggest or that we'll recommend. And then each of them will have time to interact and answer those questions. And what I think is going to be intriguing about that is the depth and the level of the response from each of those people. If you have a young professional, they may not have experienced it yet. Whereas you have a veteran who has experienced it probably several times over and can really give them the understanding and information that might spark interest or lead to more conversation. And our hope really is that when everybody walks out of that room after that hour-ish or so time frame, one is they'll have at least 2 to 3 connections. We're encouraging those participants to bring their business cards because that's just the easiest way to exchange information. But then at the same time, it's also those 2 or 3 connections that they have now through the rest of the conference, that throughout changing sessions, our luncheon, some of our socials, they'll have people that they can instantly connect with and have meaningful conversation with on a variety of topics.
Yeah, kudos to you all on that concept. And you and I talked yesterday about how there was a similar concept in Massachusetts. The difference, a few big differences here, though.
Jay and I were there. Tom didn't see it. Tom was. Tom heard about it.
I showed up. I showed up contractually. No, so Chad, you all did a pre-registration for this, though, correct? And so listening to your members, and your members got what they wanted based on what you shared yesterday.
Yeah, we have a limited spot. We only had 30 slots for the registration, and the 30 are actually full. Nice. Which we weren't sure how well this was going to go over, but our emerging professionals have sounded positively about it. It's stuff that they're asking for, things that they want so that they can be successful. I know myself, in our department, we have a couple of transplants, if you will. Our rec supervisor was a teacher for 6 or 7 years and is now in the rec industry, and they have all the goods to do the work on the day-to-day basis, and they just need the connection with some professionals to get them even more around that curve to go from good to great in less steps than it would take you or I to do that. So it's going to be an exciting time. It's the first ever, and we're going to do our best.
Is that something that obviously you got the full registration, which is fantastic? If you see a demand like that week for folks that maybe didn't know about it, is there any opportunity that they could probably get involved in that? Or, has there been a thought of expanding it and if there's more need for that?
Yeah, we're actually already talking about that what if scenario, and I think we are going to look to expand on it. I think there's still value in 4 or 5, 10 to 15-minute conversations that could take place with whomever those are. And it just so happens it might be at a very random situation. Looking at already our registration list, we have professionals from all cuts of the industry. We have parks, we have aquatics, we have rec. We have some commercial vendors that want to be a part of that too, because we obviously have a very intertwined working relationship with one another. But we have people that have been in the field for 15, 20 years that have a lot of experience. We have people who have been in the communities of 10,000 or less, and we have people that are in communities of 75,000 or more. And so, again, part of that connection is we all converge on the Dells once a year to resource and connect with one another, but also to share in the celebrations that we've accomplished over the course of the year. I always talk about it at conference and explain it to my wife, Mrs. Claus, of course. There's just nothing else like talking with our park and rec professionals from across the state to talk about stuff that's going on. It almost has a therapy component to it a little bit when you get to share some of the struggles that you face and also getting different perspective. I think that's one of the things that I love most about this podcast is that there's at least 1 or 2 things you guys talk about on a regular basis that, yep, I'm right where I know exactly where they are. I kind of know what's going on. And then to hear each of your perspectives on it makes me take a look and say, I could probably do this a little bit differently, or let me take a step back and try it from a different angle. And I think that's one of the things that makes it worthwhile, and which is what I think makes conference that much more valuable to really any agency and its members.
It's interesting because if I was to pick states that do community well from the times I've visited them, my time in Illinois, when I was doing grad school, I was very impressed with how community oriented parts of Illinois, parts of Wisconsin when I visited, parts of Iowa, they're very rural in some sections. They're very community oriented. And I think it's built off decades of helping your neighbor out when they have their harvest and them helping you out when you have your harvest, something I'd never heard of, even in an agricultural rich state like Texas, where you have these harvest nights where all the neighbors come in and they help with the harvest of a family's plat of land, and then that family provides dinner. And so there's this real community spirit about a state like Wisconsin. And even in a state like Wisconsin, we still have to carve out this networking opportunity because that's how important it is in our industry. It's as important as professional development. It's as important as what's going on at home. It's as important than as the job itself and the role, whatever you're doing, is being able to connect with someone else. And just like you said, Chad, I'm going through this and they're going through this in some way. And it's either encouragement that, oh, they're on the same path I'm on, or encouragement or perspective that they did it their way, I can do it my way. But doing it alone is the brutal part of this industry. This industry is incredible. What we get to do, how we get to serve, the impact we get to have is, I think, really unparalleled. Because even a doctor that saves someone's life, which is obviously a worthy endeavor, they don't get to, other than the moments they're in the recovery, they don't get to see the years afterwards necessarily that we get to see through, we get to see the impact of the child, and we get to see that child go through the summer camp program or the lifeguarding program and become a camp counselor or whatever. And so even those industries where maybe they have more of a life-saving component, I still don't get to think they get to see the downstream effects that we get to see in our industry. But we are constantly reminded that carving out a network, a time for networking, is as important as anything that we do. I love that is constantly reminded when we're doing this podcast that networking is important. How have you leveraged networking in your career? How have you leveraged the opportunities that you've had, whether it's through the opportunities of professional development and the people you met along the way in your internships or at moments in jobs or even working on at the state level in your capacity? How have you leveraged networking to make yourself a better park and rec professional?
Well, that's a good question.
I ask the good questions, Chad. You know this.
Absolutely.
They don't. I'm the one.
I am in the finishing stages here of my sophomore year as director of the Park and Recreation Department here in Jefferson. And I started as the recreation supervisor. So I have 5+ years with this particular agency. And one of the things I've learned in the last 2 years is leadership can be lonely at times.
It's a lonely road.
It can be lonely at times when you're faced with some tough decisions or when you have, more complex situations you have to address when you're at the top, when you're managing a department. But it's been through the networking and putting myself out of my comfort zone that has allowed me to network, where I probably have gotten through a lot in my first 2 years as a director, probably as painless as possible, because I have a Rolodex of people that I can call on with questions, people that I'm willing to be vulnerable with, to say, hey, this is a little out of my wheelhouse. I'm not quite sure where to start. I think might be where I need to start. Can you try to point me in a direction or just give me a couple of things to think about? And from there, it's kind of allowed me to take a step forward first, but also to take that first step confidently, knowing that I'm moving in the right direction. That has made it easier for me and has only continued to elevate as things come up.
We talk about vulnerability a lot, guys. I don't know if we talk about it enough, but we talk about it. We've
Especially
covered
recently.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that is important too. Like, we've also seen people come into our spheres of influence or community, whatever you want to call it, and they come in with this shield. They come in with this ego or reputation that they don't need help. They're just here because they're supposed to be networking, and they don't get anything out of it. Like, it bounces off them, right? Like, you do have to lower the shield. You do have to be vulnerable. You do have to be open to the other side of it, right? I think we could all probably think of people that we've interacted with in our 20 years in Parks and Rec, and the ones that come in cocky or egotistical and know everything, even when they're quote unquote in that networking space and doing networking things, they don't see the benefit. It's the vulnerability that you allow in the networking opportunities that's the catalyst for the most impact, or to receive the greatest scale of whatever you're trying to get, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
It's interesting because, when I took over for my predecessor, they had 23 years on the job in this position. And so to feel like there was a shadow casted was an understatement. There was a lot of expectation. There was a lot of stuff coming with it. But I had to remind myself pretty quickly that my predecessor didn't get to that 20+ year career by knowing everything on day one when they became the director.
Yeah.
They matured over the years and put themselves in that vulnerable situation. And that is what has grown and led to that 20+ year time in the agency. And I think when you go to conference and you see some of these people that have been in agencies for long periods of time, you always think like, man, like what are they doing? Like, how can I get some of whatever they're doing? Because that obviously must be the magic sauce that makes them so successful. Oftentimes what you don't ever hear is some of the stuff that they went through in their careers to get to where they are. We all look at each other thinking that everything's just all, rainbows and sunflowers, and there isn't. The work that we do is good work. It's noble work. It's hard work. And it doesn't come easy. People talk about having a tribe and having a group of people that you call on a regular basis. I would say that, like Trista and some others in Wisconsin, she's one of my best professional friends. Like, we call each other. We talk to each other a lot, especially, our kids literally sit together and do math together on a day-to-day basis. So like, we're connected not only on a professional level, but we're also connected on a friendship level. we go back and forth. We have good days and bad days, and we thrive off of each other, and we keep each other on even, because it's important, because the work we do does ebb and flow over time.
Tom has trademarked best professional friend, so he's probably going to ding you. You're going to have to pay a little for that.
You can't use that on the podcast.
Probably something that Spotted Cow will repay back here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, cheese curds doesn't have to be anything extravagant. I'm glad that you said the best professional friends thing to get me a little bit out of the hot box. It doesn't mean that we're not great friends. It's just a true fact that we met through the profession, guys. That's
gotcha. Is that what it means?
We talk about things that aren't work related, and so it's all good. We play fantasy football together.
But I wonder if you do those things and you're not looking forward to them, and you just want to talk about work.
Yeah,
now
that's
that we're
how
just
we're
work
reading
friends.
Honestly, with you guys, the last thing I want to talk about is work. So, there's other people in our professional network that I really want to hear from. All right,
So we'd be the worst professional friends that you have then.
True.
It's all perspective. Let's get back on track.
Let's get back on track. I got a question for you based on what you were just saying. You transition and you said you're going towards your second year?
Sophomore year, finishing up. I love the way that was relayed, by the way.
When you were getting ready to be transitioned into that position, you said you were in a previous role for 5 years, and the predecessor before you was there for 20 plus years. Were there things that you had already identified that, okay, when I get into that role, I want to, either change something or make some updates to this? And how did you gradually go about that, knowing that that leader was in that same position for so long?
I don't know that I would say there was anything that I wrote down that I needed to change or that I wanted to change. I think what I did is I put it more as like what I need to be cognizant of, or what I need to not have a blind spot for. And that's not to suggest that there were things that were wrong or things that got missed, but somebody kind of being on the outside looking in, I wanted to make sure that when I get to those situations that I identify it quickly and then try to figure out the best way to go about it. But really for me, all I really wanted to focus on was being me and being my authentic self, and focusing on the things that make me who I am as a leader, or I guess to create the culture or the vibe in my department the way that I want it to be created and cultivated. And so I try to spend a lot of time focused in on my staff. I've done the working professionals assessments. I've asked them to do some of that stuff. And it's actually been intriguing over the last 2 years. I'm the dreamer. I'm the big picture guy, and I want to sit and I want to talk about dreaming and what could be. And a lot of my staff are the doers. They're the ones that want to be in the trenches doing the work. And so I've stepped back how I approach them on a regular basis and just focus in on what they need to be successful. And so our one-on-one meetings are a lot more short. They're concise. It's, be short, be brief, be gone type of thing. Like, we just get right to the brass tacks and let them go about their work, because when they're out in the field doing the work, it's good work. And so I've kind of got to get out of the way of that and not be a barrier to them. But I just try to look at everything with an open eye and just try to do things differently. Try to do things, over the years that I've seen and that I've observed between two different communities. When I first started, I was in the school district recreation program. That's how I started. So the funding mechanisms between my two agencies are different, but they're not different. I've tried to take all of my experiences and all of my encounters, and I try to wrap it up and package it into how I want to be a leader for my department going forward for our staff and our community.
I want to take that and keep going with this conversation of the transition piece. There's a lot of questions I have based off of what you shared. And, I know Shane mentioned early on in the show about that whole Milwaukee has that recreation and education piece that's maybe more common, and that's where you came from. Before going there, though, I do want to touch on that. But the leadership position, you came in after 23 years of an individual who was in the seat. And we actually just had a very similar conversation with Beer Cheerheart in Kettering. And Bill's been in the profession for a little bit longer than all of us here. You and Bill actually was with Kettering, left Kettering, and then came back. Your situation is you sat in a different chair in the same organization for 5 years. You said that you're the innovator, the big picture guy, and Imagineer, which is a Disney term, guys. It's
Oh, gotcha.
if you wanted to know. And that's a big difference of what your role is from sitting in the rec supervisor position to the director position you are. And I would like maybe for you to kind of try to articulate for those individuals out there who are in that rec supervisor position, assistant director position, what about the role now? Maybe weren't you very prepared for or knowledgeable on before you got, and I'm sure you had some great cross training. I hope you did. Not all of us might get that, but there's undoubtedly some of the director tasks that sneak up on you, and you're still trying to figure them out 10, 2 years, whether it's 2 years, your sophomore year, or your 10th or 11th year. Yeah. And I remember getting into that seat and being very taken back, but also trying to learn fast and furious of how you have to interact and work with all the different departments. That's something that does not necessarily happen at a rec supervisor level or the levels underneath the director. The legality piece, you're getting bogged down with a lot of the details that you really don't burden, at least I don't burden my staff with, unless they have to know about it. You have to make sure that those T's are crossed and those I's are dotted. And that makes it a challenge to accomplish the big ideas. So are there some of those director roles that you can maybe give some perspective to individuals who are aspiring directors that, you know what, I did not realize this was going to be what I was doing, and I'm still trying to tackle it. It is a challenge, and I'm working through it.
I would probably say a couple things. One, and we don't talk about it too much, or you guys don't touch on it a lot in some of the session or some of the episodes, is obviously there's a politics component that comes with our job. We are not the elected officials by any means. We are the staff. We take our directions from our councils, our boards, and we do as they ask. Not that you want to put yourself in the politic realm. It is something that you have to navigate, and it's something that you have to be cognizant of. And that's one of the things that I had a basic understanding of course, like how things work and how things move forward, but just with how politics interact with the community members. We serve the community, our elected officials serve our communities as well. And not everybody sees eye to eye on everything. People are allowed to speak their minds, and they're allowed to offer other ideas and suggestions. And so how do you hear everybody openly, honestly, authentically, and then how do you transition and try to find ways to build consensus on a path to move forward? It feels like in our industry today, our metrics of success are measured, I think, differently than how people in other industries, how their success is measured. Our metrics are based on how quickly we can get registrations in, how quickly we can build new facilities or parks or things like that. That is our metrics, of course, and those are things that we're focused on, but those aren't the only things that are metrics to our success. There are other things as well. There's other ways that we can say that we had a successful year. And I think that impacts how you interact with your community and the politics behind some of the decision making that goes on to try to foster, cultivate an environment where we are accomplishing things, that we are making change, that we are doing noble work, even in the face of scrutiny. So I'm definitely the politics side. And I think the other piece of it too is probably like the finance side of things, the accounting side of it.
Yeah.
Our department serves is a small cog in a much bigger wheel. And we have to do our part, specifically like me as a department manager and other department managers across our city. We have to do our part to make sure that we understand and take a look at the financial impact of our taxpayers, and also to our departments, because when the city is successful, it's because our managers and the people who are working within the agency are doing the good work, fiscally responsible. They're trying to find innovative ways to do things, whether it's through grants, sponsorships, scholarships, however you look at it, which then in turn results in a healthy community that can do the things that it needs to do on a regular basis, fix infrastructure, build amenities, build parks, build things that are what people need in the communities. It's stuff that people look for when they come to communities. It's good schools, safe streets, and good places to go with their families when they're not working. Those are key pieces. And so just trying to, I would say the fiscal part of it is just I knew a little bit about, but I really got my eye open to it more as I got into my role.
I think you nailed that. I think fiscal and politics are two. If I were to tell individuals, this played so well off of our last episode with Bill. We talked about the fiscal piece last week, but we did not talk about the political piece. And shame on me and my lead into that question. Yeah, the political piece is something that as a director, and maybe this is not, maybe it's unique to me, but we do shield our people from the political piece. We don't give them, not by, I don't think it's by a way of trying to hide something. It's a way of protecting them to an extent,
Right.
from my perspective, is they're shielded from that political piece. But you step into that seat and it's a new game, new ball game. And they're at your door, they're at your desk, you're in their offices, and of course, obviously, council meetings, and it's a different world.
Yeah, I remember, just to piggyback off what you just said, I'll never forget a conversation I had with Katie Keller. And it wasn't that long ago. It was a couple of years ago. She came up to me and said something to the effect of, "Hey, I never knew how much you shielded us from the politics you were dealing with
Yeah.
when we worked together." And now, she's in a director role. So obviously, like, she's probably doing the same thing for her team. And I said, absolutely. Like, there's no reason for me to pull you into some of the issues or drama or situations that I was being put in politically, because I'm the one that's going to have to take the answer to it or make the decision ultimately. So I don't want you to feel the brunt of that or feel the heat, because ultimately it's coming from leadership. It's not necessarily on all the program staff or event staff or any other staff. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that comes with that. And then the other side of the political component that I think is really important, that it's a little bit different than just like the politics of it. But when you're talking about like the fiscal side of things, is just the way that you connect and work with other departments within your organization. And that leads to politics, because, if you don't have strong relationships with the planning department, the engineering department, the finance department, it's going to be a tougher road for you to get things done on a timely fashion, versus they look forward to working with you because you're either joyful or you bring things to them on a timely manner as well. So there's the external and internal political side of things that we need to manage.
So yeah, I try to give my staff as wide a berth as possible, as clear a runway as possible to go do their thing, right? And I think we all do. Yeah. I try to get my staff to envision that I have 75,000 bosses. They have one boss. I'm not asking them to please the community, please me. Let's talk about what I want to see from our discussion, from our coaching points when we've talked about this event. You don't have to please the city manager. You don't have to please the ACM. You don't have to please the wastewater director or the mayor or someone else on council. I'm dealing with that. And part of the reason I think I shield them, I don't want to speak for y'all, is because I don't want them in the moment when they have this wide berth and this clear runway thinking about, well, what should I do to make a mayor happy? Oh, well, this will make this council member happy. Let me deal with that. Put on the best event possible, an event that we've discussed, an event that we've talked about, where the goals are clearly defined by me. These are the goalposts. This is what I want you shooting at. If I have told you this is what I want us to see out of this event, I'm telling you either that's what I understand the mayor and council want, or I'm telling you that's what I am going to tell the mayor and council we're doing, and I feel comfortable explaining our pathway to it. What I don't want you to do is take 2 steps and then reach out to someone or get on Facebook and say, oh, is that what they wanted? And take 2 more steps and look somewhere else. Run downhill. I will do the defending, in some ways. And I think when you talk about this climbing of a mountain and the metaphor that is our careers, right? I think the way I try to tell young professionals is the view doesn't change that much. The perspective does. Like, me, I don't climb a lot of mountains. Okay. But I can imagine when you're on top of Kilimanjaro, when you're a half mile from the top, it's still an incredible view, right? That rec superintendent or assistant director role, you still have this incredible view. You're not to the top yet, but the view doesn't change that much. But the perspective does. When you get to the tippy top, there is a perspective change difference. And for me, at least how that's manifested for me, Chad, is that I took a longer view on things than I thought I would, right? Like I've said it before, I was like, my first director role, I'm going to square every circle. I'm going to right every wrong. All these years, I've been climbing this mountain metaphorically to become this director, and I'm going to right every wrong. And what you find out is you get into some of those rooms, you're like, nope, that's just how that square is. You're not turning that into a circle. And so what were the moments in this your first director's role that you started to take a longer view on than rec supervisor Chad did or master's intern candidate Chad might have?
I would probably say that kind of what you said about there's just some things you can't square. I think that's it. My success, my metrics of successful seasons or successful years as the director are not measured by the wastewater and the Department of Public Works and what they get accomplished. My success is measured by what I accomplish. And so it's easy for me now if I'm just stayed focused on what I'm in control of. I got into a conversation not long ago with somebody who's fairly new in the field, and I got connected with thanks to Chris Nunes. And that was my message to them is exactly what you just said, that you can't fix everything, but you'll find more joy and more value in your work when you just focus on the stuff that you can control. And so focusing on making sure that our department does the best it can to provide experiences and opportunities in our community, to make sure that we provide the best facilities that we can for our community, because those are all tangible things that I am in control of and my staff are in control of too. And so I urge and caution them to think about those things. That's probably what I've got the most out of it is just, focus on what you do and do it well. Sometimes I'm a coach myself. I haven't coached a sport recently, but I've always said, do things full speed. Do it full speed. And if you make a mistake along the way, I can live with that. We'll fix that on the go, but do things full speed. And so that's kind of how I try to do stuff too as a director is do it full speed. Take what you can, use the resources and the networking that you have, and then go full speed with it. And you'll know when you're doing something wrong when somebody actually talks to you about it. Sometimes a piece of advice that I got from a colleague not long ago was keep doing what you're doing until your elected officials tell you to stop. For some, that's a pretty cowboy approach to doing those types of things. So I try to rein that in with some realistic perspective, but yeah, go at it full speed and wait until somebody tells you to stop, because along the way, there might be a lot of good stuff that's happening that just because you tried it and you went full steam ahead creates this whole new buzz and this whole new standard of what you're doing in the industry or what you're doing in the community, that's how you actually facilitate change, is by doing something differently, trying something differently, and doing it well, no matter the cost.
Speaking of full speed ahead and doing it well, you have an opportunity coming up in Jefferson. We had talked about the prospect of growth that is coming your way. And so I looked this up, Chad. I don't know how true this is, but you're in between Milwaukee and Madison, Jefferson is. So do people call it the Madwaukee corridor, or is that something that the internet made up?
No, that's
true. That's factual.
That's a real thing right now. So
that's pretty attractive. And Shane, I was talking to Chad yesterday, and it made me think of your situation to an extent. A lot of people were moving into Austin, whenever that was, over the last 5 to 10 years. Yeah. And you're a city that's very, very close to Austin. And for those individuals who want to be near Austin, but not in Austin, Pflugerville is a great spot for that. And I've seen the growth that you've been able to accomplish, I think, in part because of that situation, right? It's a very attractive location. And so, Chad, you're working through a situation that's somewhat similar, and you have a lot of opportunity. You shared some of what's on the horizon, and I'd love to share that. I'd love for you to share that with us and our listeners. We talked a little bit about converting. You have a little bit of an industrial history, industrial background, and so a lot of that is maybe going by the wayside, a reflection of just society and the times that we're in. And you have an opportunity now to take some of those industrial spaces and convert those into recreational leisure spaces. And that's a big priority from what I understand that your department and your city is looking to really undergo and take on as one of their missions going forward in the next 5 to 10 years, 15 years you had shared. What does that look like? I'm very intrigued by the fact that you have these opportunities, and not all of us do, but I think we talked with, it was Stephen from Raleigh. They had a situation where they're taking this massive complex, the historical complex, and turning it into a park and open space. It seems like this is going to become more and more common. And it's so funny to think about that, because a while ago, I remember people talking about how, we don't have enough parking lots. We need more places for people. That's almost the exact opposite now. We're taking those spaces out and putting back in open space and recreational spaces. So what does that look like for you? What are some of the opportunities that you see, and maybe an example of what you're working on now?
At least in our slice of the world, housing is at a pretty high shortage, if you will. There's not a lot of housing in our area. What at one point you could probably consider us a rural community, we're now actually classified as a micropolitan community. So we're slowly growing, and that's where
y'all just making names up.
Yeah,
y'all just making shit up. You got micropolitan, Milwaukee, Madison, whatever. You're just making stuff up as you go along.
We have a housing shortage, and so our community and our administration is making really big strides to increase the accessibility of housing in our community. It's kind of two-pronged. For obviously our community is going to grow, so we have to have housing, but it also has to grow because we have a lot of industry that's coming into the community. And along the way, we're taking a look at some of our traditional industrial sites and figuring out, how do we recreate or how do we reimagine these spaces to make them more beneficial or fit more with the times that we're in? And so, like, a really good example is not long ago, we are the county seat in Jefferson, Wisconsin, Jefferson County, and our county highway shop resided within the city limits. Well, as that came down and a new building went up elsewhere, we had this vacant space inside the city. And what do you do with it? There's contaminants and things that are there. Well, we worked together with the county and the city and obviously our DNR here in the state, and we reimagined that and created a park out of it. And what's unique about this particular park is that it resides along the Rock River, which is the major river that flows through our community. So we took an heavily industrial space that we had, and we redeveloped it into a park that now creates access to public resources. And then across the street from that is now where a potential housing development will eventually go, more vertical type housing. We're kind of taking that same playbook in another industrial site along the Rock River farther to the south, where it's a legacy industry. It's this industrial site's been here for over 100 plus years. We're reimagining it now as a place where people can live, and also expanding our park that's adjacent to that space. And I like to sometimes use the term, making stuff up again, Shane, commerce and community together in one area. I think I may have heard that a time or two before, but I like to refer to that because we can have spaces where commerce and business can thrive while also creating community spaces where people who live in the area, they literally can live, work, and play in an area within our community. In this case, it's our downtown.
That sounds so familiar, Shane, to what you all are trying to do with your center.
Capital and community. And I think, we've talked about creating neighborhoods with our comprehensive plan. As kids, we all grew up remembering how we could actually walk to a convenience store and grab whatever thing your parents didn't want you to spend your money on or whatever. And what's funny now is we're building communities where it's very suburban and kids can't walk anywhere. It's not like kind of when we grew up where you had access to a gas station, access to a grocery store, you had access to a park, you had access to a pool, all within walking distance of each other. Now it's this 500 or 5,000 unit subdivision, and it's not livable. It's not a neighborhood. It's just this little subdivisional spot. And so, I think we're seeing our generation yearn for what it used to feel like, where community and capital can be together, recreation and retail can somehow coexist, and you're creating these little spots of community. Chad, when you're talking about what Jefferson's doing, and I don't think what I'm fixing to say is going to be unique in some senses. My struggle here in a fast growing city like Austin, and I think Jay's struggle in Concord being so close to Charlotte, and I think Tom would probably experience some of this as well, is that developers and community leaders and elected officials, when they are willing to take a chance on growth, they want to bank on something that's already worked, right? And so what you do is, when you come to Austin, and what Austin used to feel like was, it was all these little communities, and now it feels like this one big gumbo, and you don't know where Austin really starts and ends, because from Manchaca on the south side of Austin all the way to Round Rock or whatever on the north side, it feels like it's just one Austin metro area now. And so we've tried really hard in Pflugerville to highlight the differences, whether we're shading all of our playgrounds, or we're the trail capital of Texas, or we're doing a couple big swings with our rec center that no one else in the country has done yet. I'm trying to make sure that in this homogenous world, that it kind of feels like we're living in this one big urban area, not defined by the limits of a town. When you hit Pflugerville, you feel it's different, whether it's the shirts or the art or what we're doing in a different type of park offering, that it just feels different than Kyle and Round Rock and Cedar Hill and Georgetown and those other spaces. I want that. And that would be something I would challenge you to continue to seek, because like I said, Tom and Jay, I'm sure Jay, Concord, I think, is some sort of a suburban feel to Charlotte, and all you want is to offer a quality of life offering, but you want it to feel a little different than what everyone else is offering around it. You want the people in that area to feel like they got something unique to them, not what just worked in South Charlotte and North Charlotte, and so we'll do it in West Charlotte or whatever. That's the fear of government, is that we don't take swings on anything unless we know it's worked somewhere else, and then we feel like we want to do it. And I think that's the safest way to be prudent with taxpayer dollars, but it's also this way to lose the essence of what a community really is.
Well, I think that you're right about that. And I try to explain, or try to make sure we keep focused, that it's within our department's services and our facilities that become that X factor, if you will. Because like you said, it's not unusual for other communities around us to try to create the same housing to land the next large business. And so that's where we come in, and we try to make it feel different. We are the ones that, when somebody comes and thinks about moving here, that we're the X factor. We're the ones that solidify the reason why people are coming to our community. We know that, in our area, or at least we try to believe a little bit, that, our services are just not confined to just our community. Our services have a far bigger reach, and people will seek the services where they want to be. And so that's where the premium on the shirts, the programs, the facilities, and that's really my emphasis. I don't know if I'm replacing playgrounds as quick of a pace as you are, Shane. Mm-hmm. I think you said in a previous episode you try to replace so many playgrounds in a year when you first kind of got into the industry.
Yeah, we've replaced a lot here. We've lowered the average age from 14 playgrounds to the average age is it's like 4.2 right now. So the average age of our playgrounds, 34 playgrounds, is 4.2. And I've been able to do that with growth, but I've also been able to tell the story to council that this city is going to be a city that we don't do the playground lottery here. It's not like when you go to your cousin's Thanksgiving and you're like, well, we'll just see what crappy playground might be around the corner for where my cousins live 2 hours away. No one plays the playground lottery here. Every playground you go to is a playground that you would be very proud of as a resident to bring your out-of-town guests and friends to. And that was the whole point, that they're all off sidewalks, that those sidewalks or trails are all 10 feet wide, that they all have shade, that they're all, unique, that they're not something we did somewhere else, or that Round Rock was successful somewhere else. So those were all the intentions that we've been looking at when we replace these things. And it costs a little bit more, and it's a little bit tougher to work with the playground vendor and have these types of filters that you're filtering things through before we're not picking the same colors in every one of them. They're all looking unique and different. And there's a reason for that, is because I want Pflugerville, because roads are roads. Some roads need to be replaced sooner, some roads are bumpier, but they're all 10 feet wide. They all have standards or whatever, a road is a road, and sometimes downtowns are downtowns, and there's not a lot you can do with that. You can program in it, but schools and parks are the things that people say, that's why I'm moving to that space. Maybe commute, maybe also commute is a factor in why people move to where they move, but we're one of the reasons. And, I just want us to feel so much different than any other offering in the area.
Well, Chad, we have really enjoyed this conversation, and we've gone in different areas that we haven't before. So I appreciate that, and you taking us and our listeners with you. I think we've reached the point where it's time for a little rapid fire, and let's make this a Wisconsin State Conference Midwest rapid fire edition. Obviously, you guys can stray if you want, but I'm gonna stick along that theme. And we talked about, everybody that I've talked to has talked about cheese curds. Now, I've had cheese curds here. I have to imagine that they've got to be much better in Wisconsin. So, fresh, fried. What are we doing? What kind of cheese curds are you at least advising us or telling us we got to go check this out?
You got to try a deep fried cheese curd with a homemade ranch sauce. There's nothing in Wisconsin that says it better than when you got nice fresh cheese curds, you got a homemade ranch. That is something you got to have.
And is the cheese curd, is it a cheddar, or do you go different versions of the cheese? I mean, very intrigued by this. Or is it there's a specific cheese you got to get every time?
Here in the area, Kramer's cheese curds are pretty well known. When they're deep fried, they're phenomenal. They're also squeaky when you eat them, just as a curd and not deep fried. But cheddar cheese curd all the way, deep fried with some homemade ranch, so maybe some marinara if you want to mix it up a little bit. But I think that is a true Wisconsin taste.
We too talk a lot about food, so I have another food question. And obviously, like, cheese curds are probably the number one known thing. But if I'm coming to Wisconsin and it's not cheese related, what would be the other item that you would recommend someone get a local item?
I'm going to answer for Chad. Get out of our state.
No, I mean, the cheese is a given. Like, we're going to have that regardless.
I'm
so
joking.
It's got to be something else.
A burger, I would say,
Okay.
a local burger, cheese on the side if you want it, or no cheese at all. A good Wisconsin burger, maybe a pub burger on a pretzel roll, something like that. I mean, that is good. That would be something I would suggest trying too.
Okay.
Now, I like to be adventurous with a burger. I'm gonna imagine they do this in Wisconsin. Is there a fried cheese curd burger? So the burger with cheese curds on it?
Culver's, they actually roll it out seasonally. It's called the curd burger. It literally is a burger, and then it's a cheese curd patty that literally goes on top of the bun, and they only do it for select times of the year. It's kind of like the McRib back at McDonald's when McRibs were seasonal type of thing. They do that. We even put eggs on top of our burgers too. Fried egg.
Yeah, fried egg
So-
burger.
He's mentioned Culver's. I've mentioned falling in love with Culver's in Wisconsin. Has either of you gentlemen ever had Culver's?
No, it sounds like we need to though.
I've had Culver's probably 3 times in the last 2 months.
Oh,
What?
wow. Because
We get it all the time.
they did franchise them now. Yeah.
We have a ton here, and it's
Okay,
right near Noah's
what is
practice.
Culver's?
It's their water burger in some ways.
Yeah. It obviously originated from Wisconsin. I think not too far from here, probably 30 minutes away, is the world's largest Culver's. Just like the size of the place. But otherwise, like your standard you go there for is you get a butter burger with cheese, you get an order of cheese curds, and then you get a cement mixer.
A custard, right? That's
Custard, or you get a concrete mixer, you throw in some chocolate pieces, and they move it around, and then it's a sundae essentially.
So
Is there-
my question is, your Culver's order is what? Your go-to Culver's order?
It's a double bacon butter burger with cheese curds and a soda, and then I'm getting an Oreo and cookie dough cement mixer. That's my treat.
Okay.
That all sounds great. So, how frequent or how close together are you finding these Culvers? And is there one close to the Dells?
Yes, there's one that's close to the Dells.
Is there
Uh,
one actually in the center? Because that would make it even easier.
no, unfortunately, we're gonna make Shane go out into the cold with like 5 different jackets on to go trek for a cheese curd. But no, it's not far away. But yeah, I would say you probably see them. There's one in just about every community. It's kind of like Quick Trip. That's our also big thing here. Quick Trip's
Love a
really,
Quick
really
Trip.
big. You see Quick Trip just about in every corner nowadays.
Also
Um,
burgers.
No, gas stations.
it's gas
Okay.
station. So yeah, Quick Trips are popping up left and right.
They're Oklahoma
So
based, so we see them down here too, and I love it. I love a good Quick Trip.
Yeah, we get them everywhere
absolutely.
here.
I I got one more question about the curds and the Culvers. I know this is we need to move on, but
No, we'll
do we
stay here.
get cheese curds somewhere other than Culver's? I mean, I'm assuming being more of a chain, there's got to be some other places that do curds really well too.
We said Frank's, right?
Just about any place you go, they do the cheese curd pretty well. It's kind of like a restaurant faux pas if you can't do a cheese curd well. So just about any place you go in the Dells will be really good. I would suggest trying Monk's. That's a really good place for food. Their cheese curds are pretty good as well. You can't go wrong. It's hard to mess up, to be honest.
Okay, all right. Let's moving off of that. We've had conversations before, and you and I and Trista are on a group chat where we talk a little baseball. Wisconsin as a state, and then you personally, baseball or football?
Baseball.
The state itself too is
It's up. Man, it's a hard one. It's baseball and football. The Brewers and the
it's
Packers.
50-50. You don't see one
It,
that's
no, I think it's a 50-50 split. We've been blessed with really good competitive teams in the last couple of years.
yeah.
It's just it's pretty hard pressed to find somebody that's not both.
And you got the Greek Freak. Don't y'all like basketball? Didn't he win y'all a championship, or wasn't he
Yeah,
pretty
we
good?
like basketball too. I would say if you're on the east side of the Madwaukee corridor, you like basketball a little bit more. But here in Jefferson, it's Packers and Brewers. We look forward to the end of the Packers season, and we're already thinking about when pitchers and catchers have to report.
There's some cities out there that and I think there's a couple. It's two-prong where when you're born there, you're always from there. And Jay, Buffalo is one of those that comes to
Yeah.
mind. Milwaukee in the Wisconsin, I picture them the same. Jay's in Carolina, and there are a ton of transplants for fans. So there's Bills fans all over the place. There's whoever knows where. It seems like there's a lot of transplants. I'm gonna guess it's pretty hard pressed to come by people who aren't Milwaukee or Wisconsin sports fans your way. So probably a pretty loyal city.
It's loyal. I would say if anything, we have a lot of Bears fans, especially as you get close to the border.
Okay.
So that always makes the water cooler talk during
Yeah.
Bears Packers week very
It's a big one.
interesting. There might be some side bets that are going on about who wins. A little bit of trash talking, good nature, of course, too. But man, when 2 weeks out of the year, when everything kind of changes in some areas, it's Bears Packers.
How does the college aspect like roll into this competition? I know like there's a lot of fans that are Wisconsin college fans, and I don't know if that's even remotely close to baseball or Green Bay, or is it just a given that people are rooting for that team as well?
It's a bunch of D3
Yeah,
schools and one big school, right?
Yeah. So Madison's.
And Marquette,
Oh, basketball, Marquette. I don't think Marquette
Yeah.
plays football.
Nope, they don't. Madison obviously is the flagship. The Badgers, everybody follows them as our main college team. But like Shane said, we have a lot of other D3 colleges. So Whitewater is a D3 college, but then we have I think 4 or 5 others. And interestingly enough, all of those football programs are pretty competitive in the Division III circuit. My alma mater, UW Whitewater, I think we were on like a 7-year stretch of national championships in the football realm. And then now lacrosse has kind of started to come on a little bit too. And so, yeah, like we do follow our D3 football teams pretty good. But yeah, Badgers get a following all the time. Home of JJ Watt, Pewaukee is between us and Milwaukee. So, we cultivate a lot of our homegrown players for Madison from within Wisconsin.
There's a lot of things between Austin and Milwaukee. Just depends which Austin you're talking about.
That's right.
So you're bringing us to Wisconsin. If you could choose a state conference you would go to, what would it be and why?
Probably California or Texas, I think would be the ones that I would choose. And I think mainly for the climate change, for one. Not saying that I don't mind the cold up here, but I would love to go to a place where it's a little bit warmer and the weather's pretty standard throughout the year. But I just think going to some of the bigger states and seeing how they do things and how and some of the opportunities that they have that we don't necessarily see. Nature-based recreation is a thing, but nature-based recreation looks different in Wisconsin than it does in Texas.
Sure.
And how is that different? And where are the parallels and the similarities that make things different, and how we can try to embellish on what gets done in like Texas when we have the good weather we do.
I got one more fun one. Jay, you got one?
Well, I just want to throw this back out to the group because this is going to be funny to see. Shane was talking about earlier, like all the jackets he's going to pack, and I'm on my phone checking. So currently in Pflugerville, it's 70 degrees.
Yeah.
In the Dells, it's 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be eye-opening.
Y'all were
I don't know how
colder.
much you're used to that right now.
I handled mass well because I had a light jacket and a big jacket. Jay, you at times were freezing because you didn't pack a huge jacket to
No.
mass. And when we were walking around Boston, you were a little cold.
I packed
was too.
terrible.
Yeah.
Like I was not prepared for that. But it wasn't 25 degrees. It was still like probably 45 or 50.
Yeah, it was a chilly 45. And I did the same thing. I went a couple years before that to the same place, same time, and it was beautiful. It was warmer than where I'm from. And when we went, it was actually warmer back home, and it got really cold in Massachusetts. So
the Kalahari, everything's all pretty proximal. You don't have to go outside much, even from your hotel room to the sessions. You'll stay warm. The only time is when we go out and about in the community for some of our socials. That's probably the most you'll be stepping outside, or when you go get pulvers and cheese curds.
Well, my last question's a pretty fun one. At least I think it is, because I always like learning about the cultures of different areas, different states. Outside of the cheese curds and food, what's the most Wisconsin thing that we are going to experience or see while we're there? There's got to be something that is just a little unique to the Wisconsinians, if that's how you say it.
Probably the Midwest wave is the best way that I can describe it. We all wave at each other. We give everybody a nod. We give everybody a wave. I don't know if it's just the hospitality of us people in the region, but you get a nod and a wave from just about everybody. And if you don't, I don't have an explanation for that, but everybody is kind, welcoming. Hi, how are you? What's the weather like? I think that's probably what Wisconsin's known for, is just general good hospitality.
You hear that, Shane? No head down walking in the hallways.
Should I curse in my session? That's the question.
Is that, how will that come off?
Oh, I think you'll be just fine. No different than sitting around and just having a good time. That'll be well received, I believe.
It went over like a lead balloon in Minnesota for sure. Hey, do you have cans advice for these two? I mean, if you could get us ahead of the ball game on cans, that would be great. We won't be walking around all day aimless.
Are you talking about beer?
Yeah.
Beer.
I mean, I figure, first of all,
beer
that's
cans.
a weird way to say it.
That was the
Secondly,
weirdest analogy I've ever heard.
It was.
No, they're
But
cans.
even before Chad answers, which I'm sure Chad has some insider info, Jay's probably already researched
got a plan.
this.
I already have a plan.
Yeah, your plan had us aimlessly walking around though too.
No, I actually just recently had to mail some beer to someone in Wisconsin, so I asked him, and he's got me lined up where to go.
Just trying to lock us in a little bit better.
But Chad, give us. We still want to hear your go-to in that area.
Cans.
Anyway. Some cans.
Monster cans.
Yeah.
I think yeah. We can source monster cans. For cans, it's Miller Lite or Coors Light. Miller product.
Oh, you lost Jay. You have lost him.
Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, that's it. That's the go-to now. Obviously, I think A lot of people drink Spotted Cow up here. That's the big one too. If you feel like things like Yingling or what's the big Lone Star? Isn't that a beer in Texas?
Lone Star's a beer in Texas. That's Texas water. Jay wants an accountant that failed in accounting and started his own. He's stirring in a vat somewhere. He wants a story. He wants a little.
I already got 2 places lined up. I'm good to go.
Okay. All right. What are they? Can you share?
I had to go on my phone. Youngblood and Working Draft are the 2 places, or Giant Jones, all in Madison that they tend
now
to
Chad's
go to.
judging us harshly. He's like, I never heard.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Have you heard of any of those places?
I have.
See, there you go.
Okay. All right. We are excited, Chad. We're excited to join you and spend some time with you and Trista, Derek, Adrian, the A-team, all of our friends in Wisconsin. Thank you for making the time today. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, right, shout out to Rooney. And who's next to Rooney in your class?
Wesley.
Shout out to Wes.
Now, I don't want to get you in trouble. You got another child. Every time I only say one child's name. You've got a daughter too.
Evie. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Evelyn.
All right, Chad. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon. I'm sure before February, but either way, we're looking forward to seeing you then.
See you guys soon.
See you, man. Thanks for being on.
All right, dudes. Another one in the book. That was I was really excited to get someone on from Wisconsin prior to we're really close. When we were talking about this week, I was thinking about the timing of it all, and by the time this releases, we're looking at 6 weeks ish, so 7 weeks maybe.
Yeah.
And one thing I will tell you, and you don't know this yet, I don't think, but I've already had several conversations with Trista and Derek about locking in guests for our live recording that we're doing.
Oh, I forgot who was tasked with that. But
so I am doing that, and I got it all lined up.
Nice.
And I'm working with Trista on doing something for young professionals out there as well. So we're coming to RecLess is coming to Wisconsin in force. We're going to have an impact. That's what we want. Right?
You talking about sponsorship wise?
Yeah, trying to help out some young professionals around the conference.
Awesome.
So
cool, guys. That is exciting. Chad's got a great story. I'm so glad we got into some of the great things he's doing in Jefferson. Really great talking points today, and I enjoyed it. I appreciate you both, as always. Good friends. Drop the professional. Dropped it just there.
But then went to good.
Just good. That's it. Shane, would you rather be just a good friend or a best friend?
Professional best friend?
Which one is it?
Yeah, I think I'd take good. That's probably fine.
I think I might go the other way.
You want to be the best professional?
I'd rather be his best friend in work because then I know I'm his go-to.
That's right.
It's true.
That's right.
Well, I can definitely give you both 2 different titles. I have no problem with that. I'll keep track of it.
We're typically on the opposite spectrum anyway, so it's
That's
true. That's true.
I will say one thing that he said earlier that I've never heard the term. What do you call it? Playground roulette?
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Playground lottery.
Playground lottery. Sorry.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Well, I think it's something we've made up here, but
we made a lot of terms today.
But you play it. You go to visit a family friend and you're like, let's go to the playground, and you go, boy, this is not great. Or it's amazing. And you just don't know. And that's how I've relayed it to council, is that they can all put themselves in that spot, and we don't want that for our residents here, and we don't want that for the people, our residents who bring family and friends over, so that's how that's one of the ways that we try to crystallize it for them.
I get it. It makes sense. I just never heard it.
Yeah, I think we've made it up here.
All right. I think we got one next week.
That's me.
That's Jay. And then
I've got
the
one
holidays coming. Yeah. And then we got one after that, and then the holidays. So we are closing in on 100. That's going to happen in season 5, right? Is that?
It'd be the opening of season 5.
The opening of season 6.
Target right now. C6, yep.
6. Yep. Okay. All right, guys. Enjoy your weekend. And everybody else, we'll see you next time on RecLess.
See ya.
See ya.
This episode of RecLess wouldn't have been possible without the support of our agencies and our better halves, Melissa Salatino, Lindsay Tryon, and our executive producer, Hannah Mize. We also want to thank our director of hashtags and swag, Rooney Taylor, and our team of junior producers, Luke, James, Elizabeth, Grant, and Harper. Stay up to date on all things RecLess by following all of our social media and like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to ensure you don't miss an episode. See you next time on RecLess.